I've been wanting you to get on here since before this thing was born. Yes. And I'm excited that you're here.
I dodged you for a while.
Yeah, well, you have so many excuses to dodge me. You got the two kids excuse, which is one of the best excuses. Like, since becoming a dad, I love that I have like the kids excuse because
young kids too. So it's,
that's right. How old are your daughters?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. Okay,
yep.
So what are they like? How far apart are they? Besides 2 years, how many months?
Not like 2 weeks from that. So I mean, both in October. So that's really
nice.
Joint birthday parties.
Nice,
every time.
Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, my girls are 20 months, I think.
20 months, okay. Yeah, because Haven's 3?
Yeah. No, Haven's 2. Not even 2 yet.
Oh, not even 2 yet, man.
No, she'll be 2 in June. Okay. I knew that. I'm trying to calculate in my head.
Yeah.
I thought I was trying to guess my daughter's birthday. Okay, if I knew that. Gosh, yeah, but thanks for coming on, Mike.
Yes.
You're a super great guy, and I've just loved getting to know you. Where are you from originally?
So I am from the area around here. So Great Bend, Pennsylvania is where I grew up. So that's just across the border pretty much.
Nice.
So high school all through there, and I started college up here too. So
where'd you go to college? Binghamton University?
Yeah, I did 1 year at Binghamton. Then I transferred down to Liberty University. And Jerry Falwell School down there. So I graduated from there.
Nice.
That's when I started a job up in DC and kind of went from there.
Very cool. Yeah. It's crazy to me how many people went to Liberty. Like I
from
know.
Up here. Yeah.
From everywhere though.
Okay.
Like I know people in California that took off to Liberty.
Okay.
I know people from Michigan that took off to Liberty.
Yeah.
Like Liberty really sucks in a lot of people.
They do.
Their admissions department is killer, I guess.
They do. I mean, it's a big school too, so you get a lot of people from everywhere.
Yeah.
But I know it's popular. This area is kind of a big deal too because it's warmer.
Did you and John ever like almost intersect?
Never. I don't know if we just missed. It or something like that. I know. I think
it's a big enough school you probably wouldn't have even.
Yeah, I think it's 20,000 or something around that range.
Yeah.
So it's kind of big, but we just missed each other.
Yeah, shout out to John from episode 2.
John Groves.
John and Angel love you, and so I'm sure they'll be listening to this episode as well. He says he listens to every one.
We'll see.
But John's too busy for that. He's got better things to do. I genuinely don't think that I expect every person to listen to every episode. I'm thankful for the amount of listens that we.
I have.
Have you really?
Everyone.
Which one's been your favorite so far?
I mean, John was I know John the best of all of them.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see he's got facial expressions that just kind of.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's just funny.
Yeah, John's the best.
Yeah, but I like John.
Yeah, he's my Anglican ace of my sleeve. I've never actually said it before. But I want to start calling him my Anglican ace up my sleeve. Yeah, I was texting him the other day.
That robe, it still gets me when I see that. I don't know, his garb that he wears.
I know. Isn't it terrific? I want him to just come over with that on.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think it's I don't know if that's
it's
how it
works.
Yeah, but he and I were texting the other day, and I was sharing with him how it was his fault that I had been losing a bunch of weight because of a comment that he had made to me.
Yeah.
And I said like you're my Anglican personal trainer. And I looked and I tried to include a picture with that joke. So I looked up Anglican bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Google caught onto that, but what appeared in my Google images was just dozens of jacked, yoked female bodybuilders in tiny little bathing suits, but they're just super jacked. And I'm like,
close enough.
What is going on in the Anglican church? that this is what's going on. But anyways, that's super random. But so good. Before we moved to Washington D.C., what did you study at Liberty, and what do you do now?
Yeah, so accounting. So I started at Binghamton University with accounting as well. Transferred to Liberty, kept with accounting. I got a bachelor's in that.
Nice.
And from there, I kind of knew a lot of accounting jobs. You can work long hours. So this time of year is April, so it's tax accounting stuff. So people are doing crazy hours. And
do you ever just suck water up the wrong?
Oh, all the time. Yep.
It's really bad timing.
Right, sure.
I've never done that on the podcast before. Okay, right. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Hey, take your time. It's worse when you rush it too. When you swallow it, and you're like, I gotta cover quick, and it doesn't.
Yeah, that was me just a second ago.
Yeah.
I was waiting for my voice to come back. Keep talking, please. I'm sorry.
Good. That's good. Yeah. So accounting. Yeah. Exciting topic. So we Yeah, you normally do a lot of hours with accounting. So I knew I kind of wanted something that was less hours.
Yeah.
So they have several. Liberty's close to DC, so there's some government jobs there, and most of them are more 40 hours a week. So that's kind of knew I wanted to go that realm,
Very cool.
rather than do 60, 80 hours.
Yeah.
Every week, week in, week out. So.
Yeah. So what did you do exactly in DC?
So in DC, so I audited defense contracts. So I work for the Department of Defense. Actually, I did an internship in the Pentagon.
Wait, you actually been inside the Pentagon?
Been in the Pentagon.
What is that like?
That was pretty cool. I mean, I was 21 at the time, so it was even cooler then. I had to wear a suit every day, so that wasn't cool. In the summer in DC, so I was just sweating. And it's like a mile or two. Like once you get in the Pentagon, I forgot, it was like 5E2, some furthest point of the Pentagon, and no windows. You're walking like 2 miles pretty much to get there, so I was sweating when I show up in my suit and all that stuff. That was a little annoying. Yeah. But it's cool. I mean, you see high-ranking generals all the time walking through. I think when I was there, they had like a Wounded Warrior little display in the center part of the. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, that is cool.
All that stuff. But
and like I'm sure like the 9/11.
Yeah. So it was post that.
Right.
One thing that was cool about it. So when I was working there, the Secretary of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, his name was Michael Mullen as well.
What?
So and they have a global email address, on there, and me and him were both on there. I was right below him. So at some point, I was hoping someone would be trying to send an email to him, saying something like, "Hey, the nukes are ready to go." They would come to me and be like, "Send them."
Yeah.
Send the nukes. But it never happened. But it was kind of cool.
If it were to be anybody screwing up the emails, it would have been Hillary Clinton for sure, right?
Yeah, right from her BlackBerry at the time, or something. Yeah,
that's
at home. But yeah, that was.
Who is the most important person that you met there? If you had met any.
I can't say. I mean, a general, probably like a 3-star or 2, maybe 9.3, maybe a 2-star or something like that. Very and even cool, in passing, it wasn't anything too crazy.
That's still really cool, though.
And I was an intern, so it's more of a, the intern.
Yeah, right.
But still, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I bet. So you ended up here, which is normally a question that I get, right?
Yeah, right.
Here. DC life just wasn't for you, or did you get transferred down here? Or?
No, so I requested to come up here because my family's up here. Really, the time I requested was when I met my now wife. And her whole family's up here. So that really kind of made an easy choice. And the DC. So I mean, there's cool things about DC, and then you grew up in a city, so you kind of know how. Yeah. After 5 o'clock, like I knew I can't go to the grocery store right now because it's gonna take like an hour and a half to get there. Yeah. And all that. So and stuff like that drove me nuts. The cost of living was crazy. Yeah. I think a guy I knew, one of my buddies, bought a 1-bedroom condo, and he paid more than it did for a house up here. Yeah. And it was just that's a tough go. Different lifestyle and all that stuff. But sure. But my family being up here, that was the main draw. Yeah. Main draw coming back. Both sides of the family. So
very cool. Yeah. Do you miss the high life of high government ranking officials?
No. And then I only had the Pentagon gig for 3 months, and then I was at like a government contractor site after that, which was fine too. But I much rather be in the area up here.
Very cool.
Than DC.
So you got your degree, and then I'm assuming you just applied for an internship.
Yeah, they have some people that come to the school, and you do an interview. I think it was. I had to go up there for an interview for that one. Yeah, so I go up there for an interview. They're long interviews. Government interviews are long. Yeah, did that, and I passed that, and then pretty much as soon as I graduated, I got my CPA took all the tests right before I started my job, which was a lot easier to do. Yeah. So CPA, there's 4 different tests you take, and you pass those, and then you get so many years of experience and become officially certified public accountant. Wow. And a lot of people do it when they start the job, and you're studying every night pretty much. So I hope they do that before. Yeah. So then after that, I pretty much went to the job, graduated in May, started in June or July, something like that.
Very cool.
Right to DC, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. You do look government.
Yeah, right. Like generic? Is that
not like generic?
White guy, black hair.
Like you look like the nice guy that's like lives a couple doors down, but like the nice guy that's like also snapped someone's neck.
Mr. Anderson or something.
I'm trying to think like the best show I could think of where I've seen the you guy before is like 24.
24, Jack Bauer. You always mention Jack Bauer, like, so how's Jack Bauer doing today?
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So I think you give off some like Tony Almeida vibes. Do you remember that show?
I saw the first season, I think.
So
that was all I saw.
What I loved about that show, and gosh, I talk about like TV shows.
I was gonna say it's not reality. I was surprised.
Yeah,
we're into
or
drama.
Is it? Yeah. But 24 is nuts because it starts out right with, and this goes back to like early.
I remember the first one. Yeah, the first one was best.
But it starts out where like it's got Jack Bauer and his crew, and you got Nina and Tony,
that's
and
good.
like they're trying to take down these terrorists. And, like you get like the whole idea of like, you got the government guys and you got the terrorist guys, and you're all for it.
Yeah.
But the show turns nuts, and like all of a sudden, a few seasons later, like Nina like betrays the United States of America and Jack Bauer, and now she's a terrorist. And it's like, why did she become a terrorist?
Right, of all the people.
Like, what snapped in her head? Like, she's working for, I think it was CTU, right? Counterterrorist unit.
Yeah.
Like, right. What snapped in her head though? She's like, you know what? I'm going to switch to the other team. And she's like, no, I'm going to blow up the United States of America. And so Jack has to go after Nina. And, and then Tony Almeida's the same thing. Tony Almeida's like, if Jack Bauer is Mr. Incredible, then Tony Almeida is Frozone, right? So now, so Tony Almeida.
Tony turned too?
Yeah, Tony turned as well, like in season 6. Now he becomes a bad guy.
Okay.
And I was like, where's the show going in that, like, anyone that works for CTU will eventually become a terrorist. Like, counter-terrorist unit could also be, like, terrorist recruiting unit. Because everyone that works there, the only one that didn't is...
Everyone except Jack Bauer.
Yeah, everyone except for Jack Bauer and Chloe.
Oh, Chloe, okay.
Who is, like, you know how, like...
Didn't she work the phones or something, or was she...
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's the same thing as, like, a Disney movie where there's, like, a formula. Okay. There's, like, the formula is that you have the main character.
Yeah.
And then you have a second main character, but then you also have... a quirky, dumb animal. And then that animal has a little bit slightly smarter sidekick.
Okay.
So, like, Moana is an example, but Mulan is a great example, right? Where she's the main character.
Yeah.
And then she has the dragon and the cricket.
Right.
And, like, Moana has the chicken and the pig.
Yeah.
It's the simple formula of success in Disney, but
you've cracked the code.
I've cracked the code, man.
Yeah,
and then TV has the same thing,
right?
In that, like, I couldn't tell you exactly the person, but take like Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Right. You got the guys in the field,
and then
you got the person on the phone.
Yes.
And you got Jack Bauer, and then you got Chloe.
Yep.
And then NCIS, you have that real vanilla-looking dude, and then you got the girl with like the weird hair.
Yes, the weird. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every TV show that you got.
Yeah. You need the comic relief, I guess. They have to add something.
I'm surprised like there hasn't been more like attention. Like, well, why isn't the girl in the field and the guy that's working the phones? Like, I don't know if I would watch that show.
I'm sure you're insensitive for not knowing that it does exist already.
Yeah, that
already is
just unsuccessful. Did you see? Speaking of which, we're going on a little bit of a tangent here. But did you see? Have you ever seen The Equalizer?
No, I've seen like the previews or commercials for them or something like that.
Actually, pretty decent movies with Denzel Washington. Did you see that Queen Latifah is the new Equalizer?
No.
Swear.
No, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they were like, we need to take the Equalizer and we need to make it a woman. And not only a woman, we're going to make it an old, chubby black
Are they
lady.
making her like... She sometimes has gangster role. Like, she's like hood. And then sometimes she's more of like businesswoman.
I won't watch it.
All right.
All I know is that Queen Latifah is now snapping necks. The old Equalizer movies are like fantastic, but then they're making like a TV show series, and Queen Latifah is now the Equalizer. And I'm just like, it's like when they did... There's like Ocean's 11 or like Ocean's 12.
13.
Yeah, but then they came out where it was like the same thing, but it was like all
the women. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
John Mulaney has a great joke about that where it's like they're being like passive aggressive with one another. It's a really good joke, but yeah, because everything has to have like a female double for it. But that movie was actually pretty decent.
Ghostbusters too.
Yeah,
did that,
full credit for sure. Yeah. So, anyways, back to you and your super cool government.
Right.
That you proclaim is not that interesting, but. So you got like these contracts that you're auditing people. Do you have any like crazy stories? Like, did you put Pablo Escobar behind bars or anything like that? Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, no one's gone behind bars. I haven't, some people have dealt with even like legal cases. I haven't ever had to go to court. Sometimes you go to court over things, but I haven't dealt with that. As mentioned before about the mom and pop shop, sometimes that's the closest you get to like, oh, people are getting really jumpy.
Yeah.
Get the bigger contractors, they got money to pay lawyers, to pay teams of people to handle stuff. But the mom and pops, they get sometimes pretty sizable contracts. And they're doing some pretty crazy stuff. They're doing a bunch of lab things that are like pretty crazy. And and they don't know finance stuff. So we normally go in there and say, hey, things aren't really adding up. And you get someone that freaks out, or you get someone that's like very defensive and kind of tries to defend it. But the freak out ones, they sometimes cry, or but just it is what it is. But but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Really. It's
gotcha. I would imagine in this area, like some people are like, they want government people coming onto their property. Paying them more money. Taxation is theft type of things. So you ever run into anything like, have you ever been like threatened in a threatening situation? Or?
No, most of the time when we come on, we're like they're told by someone else like, hey, you got this contract and you need to be audited for reasons XYZ. And so it's you start off really nice, like, hey, guys, so glad to have you here. We're like, really? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go through the course of audit, and each time it plays out a little bit different. But no, I haven't had the government people. We hate the government because they're getting a government contract too. So it's like, we're paying you.
Yeah.
But not too much hostility. I don't really experience that too much. But
I think, and sorry to bring it back to a TV thing.
Okay.
But have you ever seen...
We're going to do it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Parks and Rec?
Oh, yeah.
I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think Ron Swanson's first wife, Tammy...
Yeah, Tammy 1.
She does your job.
She's an auditor?
She came into the office and she said, you're being audited.
Yeah.
And hands in an envelope, and I think that's... Anyway, so you're...
Yes. Yeah, right. So it's similar. She's auditor. I don't know what type of auditor she was or what's going on there. We had Tammy 1. That's right.
And then she ends up just taking control of all of his finances and tricks him. And,
Ron Swanson.
But so you're basically Tammy 1, which is pretty cool. You're basically Tammy 1. So take me back. I had you fill out a survey before coming on, and you shared a story that I could only really piece together. But I think we're going back long before the days of being in. If it was after being in, work for the Department of Defense, that'll be more. No,
it's well before.
But tell me a story. You basically you worked at a clothing store.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
So Abercrombie and Fitch, which that's like
as much as you look like you could work for the government, you look like you would work for Abercrombie and Fitch.
The tool of all tool places to work.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm gonna be pretty cool to work at Abercrombie and Fitch. Did that for a whole 2 weeks, maybe did 3 shifts at best. And I think there's one I was called on. I said, no, I'm not coming on. I quit. So one day I was there that kind of ended it, I think, for me and them. I was supposed to work the changing rooms. And it's such a simple job. There's no hard job in a clothing store like that.
Yeah.
You fold clothes, which I was bad at. I don't know what I was thinking. I couldn't fold it. That was terrible. And anyway, and you watch changing rooms. And I was just letting people go in the rooms and out like crazy. I didn't really care, I guess, at the time. I think it was 18, so I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was changing shifts, and someone went in the room and said, hey, there's a bunch of these, like, the little tags you have on shirts, that it sends off the sensors.
Yeah.
There was like 20 of them on the floor.
No.
And like, hey, someone just stole hundreds of dollars of clothes. I was like, oh, all right, well, see, I'll fold some shirts now. So I think they had to file a report or something like that, like just in their own little internal thing. And I quit pretty quick, and they said, yeah, that's a good fit probably for you to quit. I'm like, yeah, I think so.
Oh, man, that's
and it was such an easy job. I think it's what made it more embarrassing. It was like, pretty easy. And I mean, the main job, there's a dude that stood there with his shirt off at the front door bouncing a bouncy ball. The whole shift, I'm like, man, this is a weird store. This is a weird store.
It is a weird store. Yeah. I know. I always feel like whenever I walk by that store or a store like that, I always feel like I'm being probed.
Yes. Yeah.
That's like the best way to describe it. That's funny. That reminds me, like, I've had a ton of jobs, but one of my jobs I worked for just a tiny little bit, part-time. I worked at an ice cream place.
Yeah, all right.
Called Sub-Zero Ice Cream.
Okay.
And it was really cool, and you don't really find these types of places out here, but it was really cool because you would make the ice cream right in front of the customer by using liquid nitrogen.
Oh, that I've
yeah.
seen.
It was on Shark Tank.
Not right here, but yeah, right.
It was on Shark Tank.
You get the smoke going and all that stuff. And
but I worked at this place, Sub-Zero, and the owner of this ice cream shop was an idiot. Okay. Here's an example.
The brilliant ice cream owners that are out there.
Yeah, he was an idiot, and I remember him telling me that his lifelong dream was to own an ice cream shop. So he bought a Sub-Zero franchise and placed it in Simi Valley, but he just ran the thing so poorly.
Yeah.
So he at one point we were running out of like crumbs of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
And so he told me to take a $100 bill out of I'm like a child. He told me to take a $100 bill out of the cash register, walk over to Target, which is right on the road, and buy as many Reese's peanut butter cups as I can get my hands on.
Okay.
And so I bought $100 worth of Reese's peanut butter cups for cash out of Target, brought it back to the store, opened all of the Reese's peanut butter cups, and then crushed them all up and put them back in our Reese's peanut butter cup because we were out. That's just how he ran the ice cream store.
Okay, yeah,
and then we had a meeting one time where he was like, "We're not profiting," and I'm like, "Why are you telling us children
what do you want me to?
Yeah, but anyways, he had a bunch of cameras, like any other place would, like security cameras, but none of them worked, and the secret got out that none of them worked, and so there was just employees that I would just watch just take a handful of cash out of the register.
Oh man!
And just walk out.
Really?
Yeah, there was one guy in particular, and I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
But he was quote unquote the manager. Okay. And for every reason, this ice cream shop guy trusted him. Yeah. But he would just take cash right out of the register. I would watch someone pay. Yeah. And he would just take their cash and put it right in his pocket. Just outrageous stuff. And the way that we did tips was they'd write the tip amount on the receipt. Yeah. And so we'd input that in there, and then we would just be able to take at the end of our shift however much tip was added up from those hours and just take it right out of the register. And people would just take cash out of the register. And I never did. Right. Scouts honor, never did. Yeah, I promise. But I remember watching people just take wads of cash.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, this poor man had one dream to have an ice cream shop.
Here it is.
And now all these children are robbing him blind every single day. And I remember one day the lock on the front door broke. Okay. And anyone could just walk into the store and just take the register, which he would only empty once a month, and so it had thousands of dollars in it. Yeah. And I remember one day the lock on the door broke, and it was during my shift too. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? Right. So I called him, and he said, I don't know, just leave it. I didn't know what to do. So I called my dad, who used to be a police officer, and he had me call the police department and let them know that our doors locked. So they put a police officer on a beat around the ice cream shop. Anyways, so many stories from that place. Ice cream shop. The little ice cream shop that was.
You think is it still around? You think?
100%, because it's so successful. No matter the fact that people were robbing it blind every day. People loved it because it was one of the ice cream was killer, but also just the experience was really
cool. It's a cool thing, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I assume that it's still there. It was there last time I checked, and it's been there for 10 years now almost. Right. But Sub-Zero ice cream,
Sub-Zero.
And the owner is just a moron. He's a real creep too. And that was a pretty cool job because he eventually learned to. I think he kind of got a hint of it because this manager guy suddenly disappeared. I don't know if he died or was killed or something like that. Okay. But eventually, I was put in charge of some things. But I got to go on a couple of catering events.
Wow. Ice cream catering. That's
but crazy. Because it was such a unique thing,
Parties,
we'd bring these little to-go nitrogen tanks.
Wow.
And so there was one time that I got to cater an event at a Hollywood Hills party.
Really? How old were you in this?
I was 16. And
that's crazy,
so I was doing so many different things at this point. But so I pull up to this house and I'm unloading all this stuff, and I bumped into this guy. His name, I don't know if you ever. His name was Tay. Have you ever heard that name before?
Tay.
He is the guy that is famously known for the Chocolate Rain song on YouTube.
No. Sorry. Okay, wow.
Tay. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Oh yeah.
For the listeners that don't know Chocolate Rain, this was YouTube.
Oh, this was huge.
Before Logan Paul came.
It was a teenage kid sounding like a old dude. I thought singing a song I never heard of before.
Tay. It has 129 million views on YouTube 13 years ago.
And he lives in the Hollywood Hills because of that video, probably, I'm guessing, or what?
No, he's like a total failure now. He just
I figured. I mean, it's...
So this Hollywood Hills party, here we go.
the synthetic keyboard thing, yeah.
That's why.
The school books say it can't be here again. Chocolate rain. The prisons make you wonder where it went. Chocolate rain. Build a tent and say the world is dry. Chocolate rain.
Wow.
Anyway, that's it.
Yeah, I feel like that was when YouTube was like starting to get more popular then, or something like that.
He was the godfather and grandfather of YouTube. But anyway, so I bumped into Tayson Day.
Tayson Day, wow.
And
was it his birthday?
No.
Oh, okay. That doesn't mean
so
better.
basically, it was like this was like when you remember Vine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this was when
7-second clips or whatever.
Yeah, this is when Vine was like blowing up.
Yeah.
And so it was basically like a party for a bunch of like little internet celebrity kids. So I went there and like there was this little guy named, that's really rude to call him. They call him Big Nick, but it's like he's like a little person. And then, but he was like famous and there's a handful. I met the monkey from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies was there. Just like the monkey. And that was the second time I had actually met that monkey. I promise. So the first time I met that monkey was at school. He came like during an assembly.
Do most people in Southern California have these type of like story? Okay, all right.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I just got at the right place at the right time.
All right, yeah.
I'm at this Hollywood Hills party and I meet Tayson Day. And everyone was super excited because apparently Kendall Jenner was supposed to be there, but she never showed up.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think who else. Logan Paul was there. And which there was like nobody that like I really wanted to see.
Right. Kind of like the C-list stars, if that even maybe.
Right, but all of these people are like they're not celebrities, but they all kind of think they are. And what that like ends up creating is a really, really awkward bubble. Okay. So like people are so uncomfortable around each other because they're all just like taking their little 7-second clips and like all being super embarrassing. So when I whipped out the ice cream, I became the life of this party, right? So I'm like this little insecure, I got braces, and I'm just like this kid, and I start whipping up these ice cream people, and people are taking all sorts of videos on me. I ended up on some videos that like got like thousands and thousands of views, and I don't know how many, but the funniest part probably of that night was, God, I wish I could remember her name, but this woman came up to me. Remember, I'm like a 16-year-old, like little innocent child. Yeah. She came up to me and she was probably like 6'1", and she had the largest and fakest female body parts. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. That were that like just stared daggers at you and like they assaulted my eyes. Yeah. But she just like wanted me to make her ice cream. And as like a 16-year-old, I just like was so uncomfortable around her. Yeah. Ended up like I was like, who the heck was that? And she like introduced herself to me as if I was supposed to know. Yeah. I went on like Instagram later. I don't remember her last name. I remember her first name was Chantel. Okay. But she has like 80 million Instagram followers. And I'm like, who even is this? It's just like some like real weird like Instagram model type thing. Okay. Anyways, but... And
you made her ice cream.
And I made her ice cream. But
that was, put on a show and everything. Just
and I did it all for the owner of Sub-Zero Ice Cream, who was at the same time being robbed every night. Right.
That's really funny though. Yeah. At the Bizarre, that chocolate rain thing. Still, I'm taken back by that. Yeah.
Of all the celebrities that I have gotten to interact with, I think Tayson Day was probably my favorite because he was just like he made like one YouTube video where he didn't mean to go viral, but he did. Yeah, and that's all he's really known for. And it's like kind of a crappy thing to be known for.
Yeah, it's not like a
and so like
go from there.
He was there, and he didn't want to be there. Like he's just like. You know, Logan Paul's just being Logan Paul, like, and he's just kind of like in the background, like I did Chocolate Rain, and like that's just kind of it. Tayson Day.
I did Chocolate Rain. Yeah, that's really funny.
Gotta love Tayson Day.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh man. Anyway, so we're gonna switch gears back into reality and you know no longer live my glory days here. One thing that so when you fill out the survey that got me really excited because. No one's ever done this before, but you wanted to ask me some questions.
Of course.
You were curious about some stuff about me.
Yeah. I think I think a lot of people would be. You have a pretty crazy, small stories you snip in here and there, but then it's, cause let's start with so you were a missionary kid.
Yeah.
In Papua New Guinea, right?
Uh-huh.
How many years was this for? And were you born there? Or you...
No. See, okay. I swear every time someone asks me that, the number changes every time because I genuinely don't remember how long we were out there. I think we were out there probably like 6 years, which is actually a complete failure in the term of that. Like we were supposed to be there for I was supposed to we moved there, and I think when I was 8. And I was supposed to come back when I graduated high school. My parents were still supposed to be there.
Yeah.
We had to come back for some personal family reasons and some health reasons.
Gotcha, okay.
But whereas I have a friend named Cameron, who shout out to Cameron, love him to death. He's a doctor now in Texas. I'm very proud of Cameron. But Cameron was born there and then left after he graduated high school. So we're talking his entirety of his upbringing, and that's extremely common. So
right.
So there's guys out there that grew up there, and that's all I really know. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, no, for me, I was there for 6 years, and it's enough to have some incredible experiences and stories, and and even because
it's pretty tribal, right?
So even Cameron lived on the base. His dad was the base doctor.
Okay.
So he lived on the base, and with they had a regular school and a grocery store there.
Okay.
I mean, it's still very radically different from what life is like here.
Yeah.
But I lived in the jungle with the tribal people, so I probably had more of a real experience in 6 months than he had in 18 years.
Yeah, when you say the jungle and tribal, I think it's the Tim Allen and the Jonathan Taylor Thomas movie. Was it Jungle to Jungle? I don't know if you remember that one. It's a 90s movie. I'm dating myself too much. Anyway, they do a blow dart gun. And I'm picturing you out in the woods, the jungle somewhere with some little blow dart gun trying to get a small game to bring back to your family to feed for the night or something.
Yeah, right. They didn't have blow dart guns there.
Okay.
But it's funny though, my dad brought one in. He had one nailed to us, a blow dart gun.
Yeah.
And I remember we used to have geckos all around our house, geckos that would range anywhere from the size of my pinky to as long as my hand.
Wow. Yeah,
pretty decent sized lizards that would just hang out around the house.
Yeah.
And you're not really supposed to kill them because they eat the mosquitoes and the flies and stuff like that. So you kind of them.
You want them, yeah.
But they were too fun to kill. So so we had a blow dart gun, and we would sit there we'd be eating dinner at the kitchen table or the dinner table.
Yeah.
And my dad would pull a blow dart gun and just shoot a gecko from across the house. Or from across the kitchen.
That's what I'm picturing. That's what I think of.
And he would pin the gecko to the wall, right at the base of its head, and just be stuck in the wall.
That's crazy.
And so we had a blow dart gun, but we didn't use it to actually hunt. But we used all sorts of other bows and arrows and whatnot. But
that's pretty cool. Yeah, so 6 years. Okay, and then you came back. Before that, were you in Southern California then? Before that,
yeah. Okay. So my parents met. As much as it's a bubble where we live right now, is as much a bubble in Simi Valley, California.
Oh, really?
So my parents met in first grade in Simi Valley. They lived down the road from one another.
All right.
They got married, and then moved to New Guinea. And then when we moved back, we were talking about moving to Phoenix, Arizona.
All right.
And then ended up moving to Simi Valley again. And so we were back in Simi. So I was born in West Hills, which is 30 minutes from Simi.
All right.
And if it weren't for New Guinea, I would have been born, raised, everything in Simi Valley, which Simi Valley is without traffic is 20 minutes from LA County.
Okay.
And
yep. All right.
30 minutes from North Hollywood area. So
gotcha. All right.
It's the suburbs of Los Angeles.
Okay, different than San Fernando Valley then? That's what I'm kind of...
Yeah, it's similar. It's a close in area. It's all kind of in that same sort of hour parameter in traffic.
So then coming up to here, and you've been here for... What, 2 years now?
It'll be 3 years.
3 years.
It'll be 3 years in July.
Crazy. Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about that today, is just how much I've actually made a life out here.
Yeah.
It's like my brother tried to move away to Montana.
Okay.
6 months later, he just didn't like it. He moved back to Simi Valley. Simi Valley has a gravitational pull where people try and leave it and it sucks them back in.
Yep.
It's like the island in Lost where they finally escape. Like, we gotta go back. Going back to TV, baby. But yeah, Simi Valley has a way of doing that. But like, yeah, I just realized, like, man, I've been almost 3 years, and I have like a life out here. It's crazy.
And so lifestyle and I don't know, what are some of the biggest differences you noticed when you first came here, and even still now? What do you say, like, oh man, this is just still different?
So one of the first things I noticed is just how boring things can be here.
What?
Yeah. So, and like, I remember thinking, so like when I was trying to impress Becca, I was flying her out.
You don't try to impress anymore, is that what
I still do, but it just comes so naturally now. But when I was trying to woo her, I brought her out to California, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder if this is just like a mystical land to her. I wonder if it's just kind of like whatever. And now that I've been gone from California, I've been to California now. It's the longest I've gone since moving back to the United States. Yeah, it's been probably like 16 months. Okay, almost. That's a long time. No, not that quite. I went for like a short stint. Okay. But it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
But now I will see like pictures that my brother will post on social media, or he'll send me on his Snapchat, and I'm like, wow, it really does look like a mystical land. Like, there's palm trees, and it's sunny out, and like, you know, there's no like rusted out trucks with like flags on, like just like the classic country boys that we have out here. Like, it does feel like a mystical land to me now.
Well, it's so different too. I mean,
it's crazy different. And the first thing I noticed out here, one of the first things I noticed was a big pro-life billboard in Montrose, Pennsylvania. So you immediately notice like the political shift. Where in California, like if there was like a pro-life billboard, it would like be burned down within like hours. Like, it just wouldn't last. Right. But yeah, so you just immediately get a sense of like, oh, like you're in like conservative country, and this is like what that's like. And there's a lot of like benefits to that, and there's a lot of things that like are, you know, whatever about it, but that was probably like the biggest thing, is that you just, you know, like I am like totally accustomed, you know, from living in a different country, I'm accustomed to culture shock. So it felt not nearly as radical as moving to New Guinea or moving back to America, but I could definitely tell like things are just different out here.
Because Simi Valley, if it's home, right? When you think of home, it's probably always, it's tough to, when you grew up that for that long, it's tough to not have that feel like home.
So I actually don't feel like it's home anymore.
Really?
Yeah, because when I moved out here, the first few months were really hard. Like really hard. Yeah. And I remember I was like just like lonely. Yeah. And the Dodgers just lost the World Series to the Red Sox in 2018 it was. And I remember just like, and so as corny as it sounds, I started looking up on the internet, like literally like how to make friends as an adult.
Yeah. Oh no,
I legitimately started doing that because I was like, I need to make friends. Like I can't, like if I'm gonna last and like live out here,
if you're gonna live,
then I need to like sink my teeth into like relationships and like building lasting relationships with people. And so that's what I did. And so it wasn't long after like changing habits and like just being more intentional about friendships. Yeah. It wasn't long after that I have like probably 10 times more friends here than I do in Simi Valley.
Really? Wow.
Like I have a couple really close buds in Simi Valley. Yeah. But like out here, like I have like 3 dozen people that I can just call up anytime and just see if they want to get together or just have a talk with them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I do like I have friends out here where I just do like bonkers like stuff just to like build my relationship with them. Yeah. So like, you know, we mentioned John the other day. Yeah. I texted him the other day, and I don't know how far away the text is. Let me see. I texted him the other day at 8 o'clock in the morning. I came out with this level of energy. This is what I sent to him at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't believe I'm sharing this on the podcast. 8:06 a.m. On Tuesday. I just started singing to him. That's it. Baby. I just started singing to John.
All right.
And anyway, so like, and then I started doing that like weird prank to you. Yeah. Where I started texting you after every one of your basketball games, telling you what a great game you had. Yeah. And you're probably so confused as to how I knew about that. Yes. Anyways, like those types of things, like I'm an extroverted person, but I just pretty much set my eyes on the fact that like I'm going to be everyone's most oddball friend that they have, and like when they think of like who's like the weirdest friend I have, it's gonna be Mason. But anyway, so no, I don't consider Simi Valley to be home. Like I miss the weather. I miss like I had like some really cool habits I would do. Like I lived like a very cool life out there.
Yeah. All right.
And I miss my family, but like I love my life out here now.
That's awesome.
I have like amazing relationships. I have a family out here now. I love my in-laws. And yeah, so I love life out here.
Right. That's really cool. Because I imagine changing gears from so many things to do out there to here, it'd be a culture shock, but then it's more of a, hey, you got to make that effort, which sounds like you had to do it at one point, deciding like, I'm going to actively work hard at wanting to be here.
Yeah. Friendships are a lot of work. Like people talk about marriage being a lot of work, and it is, but like being a really good friend takes a lot of like intentional effort. Like
you got to start out having a kid like pretty soon too, so it's tougher to like our free time's a little bit different. We have a kid, so it's and then up here, a lot of people live here for a long time. So like for me, it's like my whole family's here. I know my people, and it's harder to get in groups sometimes. It's like we're good. You know, you can get that vibe probably sometimes. So.
Yeah, for sure. But I just started like, I just do this thing where I'll sing to John over a voice message and I'll send it to him. And then there's like when I'm in the car and I'm going on like a long drive, a lot of times I'll listen to podcasts. Like not only do I record podcasts, I'm a huge podcast listener. But often I'll just use the time to call people. I'll just like think like whoever I've spoken to recently, and I'll just call them up and it's like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? Yeah. So like I put a ton of work into my friendships, and I'm like super blessed to like to be friends with you and to be friends with John and like just everyone that I'm friends with. Like,
and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, like it's only been 3 years, but I have more friends now.
That's awesome.
Than I've ever had.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've gotten to know some really cool people, and a lot of people have been on this podcast that I know that have, are all great and
that's pretty cool. I don't know how much you want to get into then, like the next year. I think it's just next year, right? Is that the goal to start school?
That is the goal. We're looking at this January, potentially the following fall. I think the way that it might work out that's best for the overall like academic big picture is for me to go, or for us to go, in fall of 2022. So that'll only have a year left of school at that point.
Gotcha.
And then we'll be able to jump right into missionary training. And so it's pretty, like I really like our life here, but Beck and I both feel like we want to pursue ministry, awesome. and that could take form in a lot of different ways. But I'm certainly like looking forward to that and a new adventure. And we go into Wisconsin at that point for a year, maybe more. And then from there it's off to Missouri and Pennsylvania again. And
the further training stuff. Gotcha.
So,
and do you have to like look into things as far as like when you do missions or you think about the field? Are there things where it's like, I'm just going to pray about it? Because I mean, I've been doing accounting for 11, 12 years now. So is it something that you just pray about? Say, I'm just going to trust the Lord and where we want to go or where we should go? Or is it just take a lot of research and saying, hey, this area, I had looked into this and this is a good area? Or how much research and how much leaning on God is it?
I've been asked it a handful of times, and honestly, we haven't quite gotten there yet.
Oh, okay.
So like right now, like we're just focused on the school part. And then we have like the idea of like what our plans would look like, but we just know that like such a good chance that God has his own plans, right?
Yeah, sure.
So it's like ideally what it probably looks like is that we're going to go to school for a year, and then I'll probably intern at the school for a year. And then from there we'll make a decision that's a little more like concrete as to like what we're going to pursue, where we're going to go. Like I have like my pipe dream is that ever since I was a kid I wanted to be a bush pilot. Like I would love to go to like pilot school, and like we're talking about a huge transformation from what I do now. But I'd love to do that, but truth is I'm pretty colorblind. It doesn't really affect me in my day-to-day. But
I completely forgot.
But you can't, for some reason, you can't be colorblind and be a pilot, and I'm not exactly sure why.
That's bizarre.
Like the two dream jobs I had as a kid was to be a police officer and be a pilot, and both those things require not being colorblind. The police officer thing I totally get, because you're in a courtroom. They have to identify what color shirt was so-and-so wearing, or what color car. Well, you can't trust his testifying because he's colorblind. I get that, but flying a plane, I don't quite understand.
That's bizarre.
But I'm sure there's an explanation for it. But so there's like obstacles like that. I could overcome that. There's like colorblind correcting glasses and all of that. But realistically, we're talking like 7 years between getting my license and all of the hours and all of that.
To get that stuff right.
And part of me is like, man, I'm still super young. Like I could totally buckle down and do that. Like if that were the case, I could do school, pilot training, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll be all done in my early 30s. Like I'm good to go.
Be done before my age right now.
Yeah. So like I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Up until about 5 seconds ago, I thought you were like 28 years old. But
we'll
keep going. We'll keep going.
Thank you. Yeah, right. That's good.
But
That's good.
anyways, yeah. So there's like a few things ahead of us. Like our big thing is that all of Becca's siblings are all serving overseas in some sort of capacity.
Yep.
And so with my mother-in-law being a widow, I feel like I have a biblical responsibility to take care of her. And
sure.
And I think that part of my ministry is to be there for her, and allow my sibling-in-laws to pursue their ministries that are already established.
Hey, I never even thought of it that way too. Yeah.
So whatever we do, it'll either be stateside or a really accessible country.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I grew up in New Guinea. New Guinea is extremely accessible visa-wise, travel time-wise. It takes a long time. If we were needed like overnight for whatever reason, really, really tough to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I could see like Brazil happening or Mexico or Central America type of thing happening. Yeah. But again, we're just kind of in mode right now of like we just got to get to that point.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. That's very cool.
We'll be able to make a decision, and we've talked about it, but it's all just sort of like pipe dreams.
Right.
If it were up to me, I'd be a bush pilot, a helicopter pilot, and it'd be super cool, and I'd have like a 6-pack and long hair. But realistically, I'm just gonna be the little old Mason doing something, and I don't know what that is yet.
When talking about your jobs, I forgot to ask too about. Because it sounds like you mentioned, I think, a podcast before about you were like 18. You had a good paying job doing, what was it, graphic design or...
Sure, I did a handful of things.
Which, to me, is thinking like, there's no way I could have ever landed. I was working at Abercrombie & Fitch, losing money at that age, and here you are having a good career starting at that. So, like, how did that happen? And to us, like, I guess for me growing up in like Northeast Pennsylvania, upstate New York, it's more of like, that's just what California people do. They just it's a different lifestyle out there. But
well, so first of all, I got extremely lucky.
Okay.
So I grew up with a dad who has a work ethic like a mule.
Okay.
Like we were overseas and he was putting in work to learn the language, but we came back to the United States with like no money, and we were living with this random old couple from our church that had like an upper stairs loft. Yeah. And so I called on my grandparents, but I have no biological relationship to these old people that we were just living with.
Yeah.
But like I saw my dad, and I was like 13, 14 at this point, putting in like crazy hours for a mobile screen business.
Okay.
So in the hot 110 degree California weather, he was working like 13-hour days, just putting screen doors in, trying to build this business to make things happen for us. And so I just got a really good look at like my dad was handed just really bad cards. Yeah. And he got taken away, his dream job being a police officer. He wasn't a police officer anymore. Okay. He became a missionary and work started to accomplish that. Yeah. And then had that taken away. And he just like got to work. And so I think that like I had a really good example to look to, but my dad brought me in really quick, and I'd go on some of his jobs with him. But one of the things that he sort of let me get an eye on is his like marketing thing. And so what he was doing was, which is I've never seen done before, even then, is he would create these flyers, and it was just a quick flyer about what the screen business is that he's doing. Window screens and screen doors. Yeah. And he would. We would go and he had like a little sticker that would go with it, and the sticker was stapled to the flyer, and then we'd go and we'd tape the flyers to the door of these people's houses. Okay. And I got all sorts of ladies yelling at me. I got a dog that bit my hand. I was bleeding all over the place. Like I got I had a blast doing it. But we'd walk around all these neighborhoods, and we'd put flyers on doors and flyers on doors, and then we'd do that on like a Thursday or a Friday. And then my dad would drive through these neighborhoods on a Saturday, and it was basically like the Passover when you put like your blood on the doorpost. Anyone that took the sticker and put it on a certain prompted spot on the flyer, that means they wanted a free estimate. So my dad would go knock
That's
on the door.
good, yeah.
Hey, saw you put your sticker there.
Right.
It's kind of like a really genius idea.
It's just a lot of work when it's two people doing it.
Yeah.
Normally
Ton
have a
of
team,
work.
but that's pretty crazy.
And my brothers are both lazy. And so often it was me doing it. And my dad would pay me a couple bucks here or there, you know, enough to, you know, go to the movies and flirt with chicks or something. I was so cool. And I was way too nervous to flirt with chicks. But, but anyway, so I just got crazy lucky with marketing. And, and you know, one thing my dad always told me as a kid is that I grew up overseas, and you know we live in a tribe, and the only other English-speaking people were a Canadian couple that they're like mid-40s probably, and then a German couple who were in their 30s. And so I grew up, and my only people I ever communicated with in English were adults, and so I learned to communicate really, really well with adults at a really young age. And so that really translated into marketing and sales. So I got really lucky, and you know, I wanted to get like a big job, like a big boy job kind of thing. You know, I had like kind of weird high school transcripts. I remember I went and I tried to join the army, and they turned me down because they didn't trust me that my diploma was real.
Really?
Yeah, like kind of nuts stuff. Stuff that I think that it was just God working in a really interesting way.
Yeah, right.
But, and so I created the best resume that I could, and that it was mostly just highlighting my skills and abilities. And I just like threw that stuff out like it was, you know, I gave everyone my resume, but I ended up landing a job at a window installation company in telemarketing. And that's just where I got my start. And so I was in telemarketing, and, you know, I got sat down in an office. I was just a kid at this point, and I think I was 17 at this point, and you know, they gave me like a script, and they just said, you just call this list as many times as you can. You just keep calling.
Michael Scott, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the telemarketing.
Exactly. And so, you know, I was making like 150 calls a day, and I remember after the first couple of days, I'm like, I just realized even as a 17-year-old, I'm like, this script is trash. Yeah. And so as a 17-year-old, I make a really bold move that I'm going to rewrite this script better. Because this list, I was calling our window customers and trying to sell them solar panels. And so I was like, shoot, I'm just going to, you know, improve this list. So I rewrote the list in my own words. I made it better. And I rehearsed it, and I went after it. And then in 1 week, I sold like $80,000 worth of solar panels. Wow. And suddenly everyone like, just like, who's this
what's going
17-year-old Mason kid that's just all of a sudden cruising, right? So I just went after it. Sorry, I got a text there. Yeah, that's good. I just went after it, and you know, ended up selling a few $100,000 for the solar panels over a few months. Ended up just getting promoted. And you know, the graphic design thing, it's funny that you kind of mentioned it, but it often gets like, so a lot of like businesses and people who are unaware of marketing, they like lump in marketing with like, well, if you do marketing, then you must do graphic design. And if you do marketing, then you must be a good photographer or videographer. And the answer to that is no, that's not the case. But what I learned is that there's a huge market for people who want all-in-one packages. So I just went to learning, like I mentioned before, like I learned how to get friends on the internet. Like that's the absolute truth, is that if there's anything that you want to learn how to do, the internet will teach you how to do it. And so I just learned, like I just taught myself how to do graphic design. And that's so crazy. And the biggest weapon I've had on my resume is that, you know, I had a few opportunities. I'm super blessed to have had those opportunities, but I have spent in my lifetime, I've spent probably $45 million on advertising of other people's money. Right. Wow. So, but that speaks a huge language, because you can go to, you know, college and get you know, a big fancy, you know, degree in marketing. Right. But like, you know, more than often businesses are going to trust the guy that's already spent $45 million on advertising. And so, and so the graphic design, I just sort of taught myself, like, I'm not that great at it, but I'm good enough to like get through some projects and make a living off of it. And, you know, photography and videography the same. And like, I just sort of like taught myself, and again, I don't like marketing. I don't like my job a whole lot. It just sort of, you know, chose me in a way. And I sort of fell into it. And there's a huge market for it, especially in areas like this area. Because like, the marketing is so like parallel with like big businesses, which are in like the big cities.
Yes.
And so a little more rural areas like upstate New York, where there's like big businesses still, and good population, they're dying for like marketing professionals who have all fled to New York City to work for marketing agencies or fled to the big cities to work for these marketing companies. And I'm like, I guess I'll just pick up the crumbs on
Don Draper of Binghamton, New York, or
something. So I just sort of taught myself, and I fell into it, and again I feel like crazy lucky. Like I consider myself to be talented in that area, but I just feel so lucky because American Vision Windows took a chance on me, and that company like taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for American Vision Windows.
Right.
And then like the next opportunity like there's
it's cool because it wasn't like because a lot of times you hear stories of people that got to a position pretty quickly. It's like, well, my dad got me in here. It's like, this seems like you were just, I started low. I was a telemarketer, and I did my thing, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, well, there's one thing I've learned, and even like my current job now, they weren't supposed to tell me this, but I told my dad as I was like interviewing for this job, and I was like unemployed, and a lot of people were nervous for me, and he asked me like, how are you feeling about it? And I said, honestly, I really want the job, but if someone comes along that is more qualified than I am, he's probably going to get it, because I just feel like this job in particular, it's not something I've done a ton of. It's something new, which I'm really glad about. But I just think that someone else will probably get it if someone comes along. Yeah. My boss told me the other day that they passed on a guy who has a decade of experience and a master's degree in healthcare administration. And they passed on that guy for me, because they felt that like my personality was really desirable for the culture.
Killed the interview. That was the...
Yeah. So there's one thing that like I preach, and one thing I believe very firmly in, and that is that like college is fantastic because it'll teach you a lot of things that I'm still trying to learn. Yeah. Like organization skills, deadline skills to get those types of things done, 100%. But experience and a personality will trump a college degree every single time. And that's how that's shown. No one's ever passed me up because I didn't have a college degree. Like I don't even have an education portion on my resume. I just threw it out.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
There's nothing on there that I want them to see anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Like if anything, I have. But so I learned at a really young age that like college degrees are awesome. I have a friend of mine. His name is Carlo. Love Carlo, and Carlo has a college degree, and he graduated summa cum laude, whatever it is. Yeah. One of the smartest guys I know, goofball, love him to death. Yeah. He just got his first job, and I'm so excited for him. It's like a really great job, and I really only heard him talking to my little brother Matthew about it. Yeah. But I've been able to, I would say, make myself parallel to him like that. He got a great college degree from a great university. Yeah. And love him to death. They would probably pass on him for me if he and I were competing against one another in an interview, because people take experience.
That's true.
And like I've had a bunch of jobs. I don't think I've ever not been offered a job after an interview.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just like
that's pretty cool.
I have it down, and like I wish I have it down, and like like there's just certain things. Yeah. And honestly, it's probably like a narcissistic thing that I need to like watch out for. But I think that like a lot of times in interviews, like I'm able to identify exactly what they're looking for. Right. And if I'm like qualified for that, and I know I'm good at that, I'll pursue the job. Yeah. And at that point, like I know what they're looking for. And I'm able to judge their questions and give them an answer based off of what I know they're looking for. Right. So that sounds like a psychopath, serial killer.
I mean, I think you're catching the vibe. I get if that's the right word, but it's more of like, I get what you guys are doing here, and I see what you need. Yeah. And can I do that or not? Yeah. I can pretend it in an interview, but is that really what I want to do? Right. And you kind of go from there, I guess.
Yeah. And so anyways, that's how I ended up here. And again, like I'm looking to do a huge career change.
Right. Absolutely.
This is not at all what I want to finish life as.
Right.
Because, like I've had jobs where like the marketing and the sales went hand in hand, and it's just like, it doesn't drive me to pursue sales figures and marketing numbers, and like, it's just not my passion. My passion's people, and so that's what I'm pursuing in the future. But
absolutely.
Still super lucky that, you know, God has used all of these opportunities to provide for me and my family. And like, you know, like, gosh, throughout the last few years, like, you know, I worked for a college that went under, and I worked for a nursing home in the middle of a pandemic, handling all of their marketing and PR. And I had to leave there because I was doing TB treatment, and like, so I'm just looking to settle into something for a little while, but you know, we're looking to switch it up too. So.
Man, it's been pretty crazy. That's a lot of
it's been nuts. It's been nuts for sure, man. But anyways, so now I got 2 kids and a wife, and you know, you got 2 kids and wife, and our wives, I think they grew up.
They went to the same church, and same youth group. Yeah, I guess I don't know how different in age they are. I mean.
Yeah,
friends in the youth group, I thought, but I wasn't really there. But
yeah,
I assume so.
Yeah, there's like a cult group of South New Milford girls that went to the youth group. It's Angel and Becca and your wife. So Anyway, so last thing I want to talk about on here, I would love to, you know, one thing, you know, I know God has been like bringing you through. You know, the last almost 3 years probably.
Yeah, 2.5 now.
2.5 years is, you know, tell me about your daughter, Mandy. You have 2 daughters. And first of all, before we get to Mandy, who's a very special person, Nora rules also. Like, I just want to like...
No, I appreciate you saying that, because it's tough.
Yeah.
And I'll start with that. It's tough to make sure the balance is equal, and that it's not attention one over the other. And I think we're doing that, you know, as best we can at home. But
I ran into your wife and Nora at Target once.
Daughter Nora.
And I said, "Hey Nora, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And then your wife was like, "That's Mason, remember Becca's husband?" And I don't know if I know him, and that was it. Anyways, that made me laugh. But so tell me about Mandy.
Sure. Yeah. So Mandy, she was born 2.5 years ago, and very quickly we realized, you know, something was wrong. So she has what's called alternating hemiplegia of childhood. Super rare, ultra rare neurological disorder. 1 in a million people. I think there's 2,000 people in the world that have it. So it's super rare. And we found, I think, second day of life when we were at the hospital. She had whatever. I mean, I still remember just like yesterday, because it's pretty dramatic. But they said, "Oh, hey, your daughter has a seizure. We're not sure what's going on, but we'll let you know." And it was like 4:00 in the morning. So we're like, "All right, okay." And then, you know, they come out. Maybe it's time for you to come out and see what's going on. I still remember walking down this hallway, and it's just nurses all lined up the side, like looking around, like, we have no idea what's going on with your kid. And you know, she had it wasn't a true seizure, but it was an event, you know, some type of episode that she has with it where she would stop breathing. So it was pretty threw everyone off pretty bad. And so from there, I think I mentioned too, at that point, then they took her in an ambulance over to a NICU. So the local hospital here didn't have a NICU where she was born. The other one did, so I had to take her there.
Is that in Syracuse?
No, so it was at I probably mentioned Lourdes Hospital where she was born. We had to go to Wilson Hospital. Okay. So they're like 3 miles away. Gotcha, but one has a NICU and one doesn't. Yeah. So they're going to the hospital that has a NICU because she needed to be there. She's still having a hard time breathing. And I remember we were following the hospital, the ambulance to the hospital, just me and my wife, Kate. And I remember that was a time where it's like things were going crazy, but there was a sense of peace. And part of it was out of our hands at that point. What are you going to do? But I remember talking to my wife saying, "Hey, no matter what happens, you know, we will be okay." Because I hear a lot of times when something traumatic like that happens in a family, you never know. The divorce rate's sometimes higher, or it just puts stress on the family. So I think want to make sure that she knew, like, hey, it's going to be okay. And then I remember thinking of, I won't keep this long. It's 2 days in. I won't get the whole story this long. But and I'm gonna think of Peter in the water, where it was when he focused on Jesus, he could float on the water. He could rise above the water. But when he took his eyes off Jesus, when he sank. So at that point, I think that's where it started. Like every time through this whole 2.5 journey of just keeping the focus on Christ and not on the situation, the water. And if you focus on that, you're gonna drown. You're gonna sink. You're gonna lose sight of what the point is in your life. So kind of. That was the start of it, where it's more of like, I got to keep a focus on Christ, because that's where it's going to get you through. So fast forward up to now, 2.5 years, and we've gone through several different things, but she's at a baseline, she does very well. Let me explain some of the issues. So some of the issues that she has now with HC, there'll be dystonia, which is cramping of bodies, of the arm and legs. Paralysis is a big one too. So it can happen. Sometimes it's too much stimulation. It can cause it. Sometimes just random. They're random. And it could be half her body, whole body, just arm or leg. Like this way, I think she's on day 8 of a paralysis episode now, where she can't even sit up or do anything. So we're just holding her and doing that the whole time. But you look at just before that, and she was kind of starting to stand and walk assisted and do a bunch of things that we really didn't know what was going to happen, because there's definitely a range of where it can go. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a quick. I mean, I'm more than happy to keep going, but that's the main thing. Yeah. I don't know where you want me to go from that point.
Well, I appreciate you sharing with me. I mean, from our perspective, there's so many questions I can ask you.
Sure. And it's when it's your kid, it's a deep hurt. I mean, anytime I used to be the dad that was like, oh, Nora's got a cold. Oh, I'm really, it just bothers me. And that now it's different now, where it's like, there's some of the bigger episodes now. She'll still have these breathing episodes where she just stops breathing entirely. And those are terrifying. Those are so terrifying. And I mean, we've called 911 several times on that. She's had 10 or so inpatient stays in hospital over the past 2 years and all that. But yeah, I mean, we have oxygen. She's always around. We always bring oxygen with her for events like that. Yeah. But unfortunately, those aren't all the time. Yeah. So we always make sure not to scare people when we come in with her and all that. But because she is very very sociable and likes to be around people and all that stuff. So she has a really good, we call it baseline, like when there's nothing wrong going on, it is really good, and that's what we try to keep. Yeah. But the bad, it can be really bad. Yeah. What she struggles with, and the seizures and the disorders and all that stuff that she has. So.
Yeah. Is there any treatments available for this? Or?
Yeah. So no, currently there's nothing that can cure it or treat it. Most of it's just trying to stop the episodes and the things from taking over. I mean, something they're looking at now, which has shown some more promising results, is gene therapy and gene editing stuff. And so just recently, it was January this year, there was down at Duke University, they have a mouse model. They had to start an animal model. They have these mice that have AHC, and they inserted a gene therapy. So it's just where AHC, it's a mutation in your genetic code in one gene, the ATP1A3 gene. And if you can insert the correct gene into the right place into the brain, it actually fixes these mice. So they're able to find out they did that. They had these mice that had AHC. At a certain day old, they inserted this through a shot, this gene therapy into them, and they found out, hey, they don't have paralysis right now, and they fixed them, which is groundbreaking. Not many disorders have that type of thing, which is huge. The tough part with it is that it's a very rare disease, so there's not much money and funding. So that's why we do the golf tournament that you so graciously have come part of.
Who else is going to kill those squirrels?
So I mean, we have fun doing that, and I think there's a lot of HC parents that do some fundraising thing of some kind. So that's part of it, and there's a few other things looking at too, as far as the gene editing stuff that. It's shown a lot of promising results that this will work. And I do think in her lifetime we'll see the benefit of it. It'll help more people that are going to be diagnosed with it down the road where they might not have hardly any symptoms. Because I think now they're in the space where gene editing is similar to gene therapy. They fixed progeria, which is another disease. That's a Benjamin Button disease, so it's that people age really quickly. And they've found in mice that they've essentially cured it. In mice and gene editing, and the people that cured it are now working on AHC, which was a huge thing to get. So hopefully, I think in a year and a half, we'll have some results in that where they're kind of if it works. So while there's no cure now, and it's I won't say doom and gloom, but it's just tough because you kind of see you'll see decline eventually. Like she's gaining a lot now, eventually start seeing decline. But there's a lot of the hope, I guess, in that. So it's kind of cool.
So what is So there's one thing I know. You mentioned if she gets too stimulated.
Yeah.
So going over to your house a couple of times, it's always like dimly lit. Can you tell me a little bit more like what that
Sure.
is?
Yeah, so we normally have, it's like a warm cave, I think is what we call it in the winter, where it's like we try to keep it like strict room temperature, like 71, 72, like all the time. So it's pretty much, I think the only way I can try to think of it is like if you're sleeping in your bed and it's like really dark, you got the covers on, it's a cold room, but you got covers on, and someone comes in and they rip off the covers, turn on all the lights, and start blaring music. Like you'd be like, oh, what's going on? And for her, it would be too much. It would just be too much. All those stimuli
Gotcha.
would be, or those are the triggers, I guess you'd say. So what happened is, her eyes might just start doing some weird stuff, and then she probably could go into a dystonia or paralysis event, because it just the gene that's causing that issue there. It's the sodium potassium pump. Not to get too scientific with it, but the sodium potassium pump,
keep going.
which creates energy. So it's one of your main energy sources to respond to stimuli or whatever that you're facing. Hers is kind of broken in a way. So it's the body saying, hey, we need more of this energy from this certain pump. Yeah. And it just isn't working. So it causes some type of episode. So it's a very simple way of a very scientific thing I'm trying to explain.
Yeah. How much did you guys end up raising at the golf tournament? There's a lot of people.
Yeah, so we netted about $30,000, which is insane. I can't take any credit for it. I will say it's my mother-in-law, Vicky. She
crushed it.
All the work. I mean, really, it is scary the amount of time and work she puts into that and how well she does.
You delivered a pretty awesome speech.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's right.
Yeah, I recall a pretty good speech.
Oh yeah. That's well, whatever. But but I'm making $30,000 the first year is huge. I was hoping to make 5 to 10 to start that, and then that's astronomically huge, really, to do that. So that's pretty exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the next golf.
August 28th.
August 28th.
2021. Yeah, I think we can fly ours out. So
let's see if I can get Siri to put in the calendar August 28th golf tournament. Never works when you want it.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
What I mean?
That's right.
Never works when you want it to.
It knows.
But that's great, man. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
And, thanks again for doing it too.
I mean, if anything, like it reminded me like how much I enjoy like playing golf, like just getting.
Good. That's a nice course too, and we had great weather that last time too. Last year, that was awesome.
Great course, and my very first swing, I missed the golf ball entirely. So we ended up finishing at par, which I'm really proud of. That's pretty decent. I feel good about it.
Yeah, I would. I would.
So through all of this, how is if this isn't too personal a question,
please.
How are you able to manage your marriage?
Yes, it's different. So it's in the similar to how like you have to be more purposeful in your relationships. And again, I say this, and if my wife hears it, she'll be like, "Oh, that sounds nice. Why don't you do more of that?" Yeah. You have to be more purposeful, I think, in making sure like your wife's getting attention. Same way that we make sure Nora's getting attention, because for a long time it was like, "Hey, Nora, go to Grandma and Grandpa for 2 weeks. Go to Grandma and Grandpa. We're in the hospital because we don't know what's going on with Mandy." So then you try to make that time up, and I think we're doing better now. It's similar to with me and Kate, where it's more of a you make sure that our time together is useful, and it's not just like, hey, we're here, whatever. You're trying to make it like a value, like, hey, I want to show my love for you in how you need to be shown, whether it's love languages and making sure that's understood. Yeah. And same for me, it's a have your respect in how she shows that. So it's more effort, and more purposeful. So sometimes it doesn't come as organically as where it's like, hey, it's because a lot of times we do it's a lot of care. You feel like a nurse in the house, almost like we're a nurse in the house taking care of Mandy. So it's a little bit, you need to take a little more purpose for it. So it's just more effort, I think. It's certainly doable.
You use the word purposeful, and the word I've used is intentional.
Yes, right.
I think those are great words, and I've had to learn to be more intentional with Becca, because sometimes it's just so easy to just kick back with her and not even think about what you're doing and how much I'm on my phone.
And I'm saying this, and I'm like the worst abuser of it. I feel like there's so many times where it's like I'm vegging out. It's like
but well, that's good, man. I know. gosh, like one thing that I pray for my kids every night.
Yeah.
And I pray for them like 12 times a day.
Yeah.
And like I just know how fortunate we are, and we
Sure,
pray for you guys
sure.
all the time.
Yeah,
And
we appreciate that, of course.
we love to think about you guys and pray for you guys, and and we love you guys a lot. And I appreciate you coming on to the podcast.
I'm glad I could do it. I'm sorry I dodged it for so long. Most of the time it wasn't purposeful, but it was.
And I'm sorry that we I wanted to talk more, but and gosh, I'm just happy to have you as a friend, and we'll do another episode another day too. I'm already talking to John about coming back for episode 2, and reach back out to Mervin. I got more questions for him.
Yeah, good deal. Season 2. This is
I've got more questions. I've got people that say, hey, you should have asked the guy that used to be Amish about this or about that.
Yeah, right.
I was like, you're right, I should have, so I gotta get him back. But
good deal.
Anyways, Mike, thanks again for coming on, man, and appreciate it. And if there's anything we can do for you guys, we're always here. But mostly, man, let's just hang out, watch basketball or something.
Yes.
All right.
All for it.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
Cool. Call it an episode.